The Kray Twins, Power, Crime, and the Fall of Britain's Most Notorious Gangsters, a funeral fit for a king. On the 11th of October 2000, Londoners lined the East End streets as Reggie Kray's coffin passed in a horse-drawn carriage. Mourners threw flowers, television crews jostled for shots, and old friends whispered memories. 3 decades earlier, the Kray Twins had ruled those very streets, mixing charm, menace, and ambition into a legend of power and fear. To admirers, they were princes of the underworld. To victims, ruthless predators. Their story is a study in how charisma, violence, and opportunity can entwine, and how crime ultimately devours its kings. East End origins. Ronnie and Reggie Kray were born in 1933 in Bethnal Green, London, identical twins whose lives would remain inseparable. Their father, Charles, earned a modest living as a costermonger and part-time sailor, often away at sea. Their mother, Violet, was warm, resilient, and utterly devoted to her boys, raising them through the gray austerity of wartime Britain. Bomb sites, ration books, and neighbors swapping gossip framed their early years, while an unspoken Cockney code preached loyalty to kin and respect for community elders. Encouraged by their grandfather, Cannonball Lee, the twins trained at the famed Repton Boys Club, sharpening their fists and learning focus. Reggie displayed cool control in the ring. Ronnie's blows were heavier, his temper quicker to flare. Even as children, they radiated a daring energy that unsettled teachers and delighted schoolyard companions, foreshadowing the charisma and volatility that would define their adult lives. From scraps to the firm. After short-lived stints in the army and spells in detention for street fights, the Krays returned to London, determined to carve out a livelihood beyond honest labor. They began collecting insurance from cafes, dance halls, and small pubs, gradually assembling an organized crew later christened the Firm. Their older brother Charlie brought a touch of polish, arranging contacts with bookmakers and smoothing negotiations when tempers threatened to derail deals. By the end of the 1950s, the brothers were embedded in the East End nightlife. Immaculate suits, fast cars, and a reputation for settling disputes, by persuasion or by force. Yet Ronnie's unpredictable moods, later linked to paranoid schizophrenia, meant casual remarks or imagined betrayals could spiral into brawls. Even so, their network thrived. Gambling dens, boxing promotions, and rackets with corrupt bookmakers fed their coffers, positioning the twins for a leap into London's glamorous West End. Glamour and the darkness. The 1960s transformed London into a playground of music, fashion, and rebellion, and the Krays moved quickly to capture the moment. They bought West End clubs, including Esmeralda's Barn, hosting film stars, models, aristocrats, and even MPs, eager to rub shoulders with dangerous charm. Photographs captured them in tailored suits, arm in arm with Judy Garland, George Raft, and politicians who preferred their dealings unmentioned. Yet glamour masked a brutal undercurrent. Ronnie's paranoia sharpened, stoked by drink and whispers of informants. Reggie, outwardly smoother, could be equally merciless in private. Debt collectors working for the firm humiliated or savaged anyone behind on payments. Businessmen who rejected their protection often returned to vandalize premises or violent warnings. Even as swinging London celebrated freedom, the Krays' dominion was anchored in menace, secrecy, and sudden blows. Love and betrayal. Reggie's relationship with Frances Shea offered a brief glimpse of tenderness beyond the underworld. Frances, elegant and impressionable, longed for stability, but soon found herself engulfed by Reggie's heavy drinking and Ronnie's constant interference. Their 1965 wedding was lavish, yet behind the photographs lay tension and fragile nerves. Frances's death, recorded as suicide at just 23, left Reggie racked with guilt and anger, casting a long shadow over his later years. Meanwhile, the brothers embroiled themselves in the drama of Frank the Mad Axeman Mitchell. Smuggled out of Dartmoor prison by the twins, Mitchell initially brought notoriety but soon proved dangerously unstable. Fearful he might expose them, they sanctioned his killing, an act that confirmed reputation often mattered more than loyalty inside the firm. Murders that sealed their fate. Ronnie's daylight shooting of rival George Cornell at the Blind Beggar pub in March 1966 reverberated across London. The killing, witnessed by patrons nursing drinks, showed a gangster no longer concerned with subtlety, determined to cement his supremacy. A year later, at a raucous gathering in Stoke Newington, Reggie, fueled by alcohol and Ronnie's provocations, drove a knife into Jack the Hat. McVitie after a dispute over a failed contract. Even seasoned lieutenants recoiled, recognizing the glamour around the twins had soured into open savagery. These acts galvanized Scotland Yard. Informants who once cowered under threats began to whisper, convinced the Krays' recklessness endangered everyone. Detective Leonard Nipper red-marshaled a meticulous inquiry, weaving together testimony, fraud evidence, and tales of missing men. By the late 1960s, a dossier strong enough to bring down the East End's self-styled Hollywood-style kings was finally complete. Arrest, trial, and imprisonment. On 8th May 1968, coordinated dawn raids shattered the Krays' illusion of invincibility. Police stormed their homes, seizing the brothers and rounding up their most loyal lieutenants. The Old Bailey trial that followed became a national spectacle, drawing crowds eager to see legends reduced to defendants. For weeks, former associates gave chilling testimony. Tales of beatings in back rooms, blackmail schemes, and the cold executions of Cornell, McVitie, and others. Newspapers splashed lurid headlines, while television cameras captured Violet Krays' quiet vigil outside court. When the guilty verdict arrived, Judge Melford Stevenson imposed life sentences with a 30-year minimum. Ronnie, unstable and erratic, was eventually committed to Broadmoor Hospital. Reggie entered a harsher prison regime, burdened by regret and the ghost of Francis Shea. Life behind bars. Prison dimmed but never erased the twins' aura. They corresponded with admirers, signed books, and occasionally courted journalists eager for glimpses behind the bars. Ronnie, ensconced in Broadmoor, demanded Savile Row suits and good wine, cultivating an image of the unrepentant gentleman gangster. Reggie rotated among jails, sought to guide younger inmates, though black moods and bursts of temper betrayed inner turmoil. Charlie Kray, the eldest brother, tried to keep family ventures afloat, but in 1997, a cocaine smuggling conviction sent him to prison, reinforcing how deeply their surname remained entangled with criminal temptation. For the Krays, even incarceration could not fully untangle notoriety from daily life. The final years. As the 1990s wore on, Ronnie's health collapsed under years of medication and confinement. He died in Broadmoor in March 1995, mourned by East End old-timers and curiosity seekers alike. His funeral procession, lined with limousines, felt part tribute, part theater. Reggie soldiered on until a diagnosis of terminal cancer secured his release on compassionate grounds in 2000. He spent his last weeks quietly in a Norwich hotel, accepting visits from friends, reflecting on Francis, Ronnie, and the empire that had turned to ashes. 10 days after Reggie's death that October, the twins were buried beside their beloved mother Violet, closing a chapter that had gripped Britain for nearly half a century. Legacy and lessons. The Kray saga endures as a curious blend of morality tale and dark folklore. Biographies, plays, and films, most famously legend, keep their images alive, sometimes varnished into rakish anti-heroes. Yet court transcripts and survivors' voices lay bare a harsher truth. The twins built their kingdom on fear, coercion, and blood. Their ascent from bombed-out streets to nightclub royalty showed cunning and tenacity, but their fall exposed how ego and unchecked violence erode even fraternal loyalty. Behind the tailored suits and easy smiles were two men who mistook notoriety for respect and brutality for strength, leaving a cautionary echo in the cobbled lanes they once ruled. Shadows of the East End. The Kray Twins embodied an era when London's underworld mingled with celebrity salons, when loyalty was preached but seldom practiced. They sought power and adoration, but the same myth they built became their prison. Today, the pubs, clubs, and cobbled lanes of their empire bustle with new stories, yet whispers of Ronnie and Reggie linger. A reminder that behind every legend lies a reckoning, and that crime's glamour always conceals a steep and often tragic cost. If you found this deep dive into Britain's most infamous gangsters intriguing, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more untold stories from History's shadows.